Good afternoon, day 7 at Constitution Dock here down in Hobart, and this is going to be a wrap for the race from us. All of the boats that are going to make it are in. A very colourful scene as you can see behind us, many of the last ones coming in being the two-handers. Real buzz down on that quay, and we'll go down and have a quick look around and maybe chat to a few of them by way of our finish in a moment or two. So, last pieces of news in the equation at the moment, the Ichi Ban and Celestial protest, or the race committee protest indeed as well, although supposedly resolved, has now received a request for reopening, and as we understand it, that procedure is going on in the Royal Tasmanian Yacht Club at the moment. So whether or not this is game over or not, remains to be seen. That could be quite lengthy. The first one was 4 hours plus, and this one may well be lengthy as well. That'll be for someone else to wrap on. We'll leave that one aside. A fantastic race, really, all things considered. First of all, that it ever happened. Remarkable. Great effort to just try and keep everybody in bubbles and keep it moving. And actually, it wasn't COVID that really saw most out of the race. It was actually that first night at sea with more than 30 retirees, I think 32 in all. Pretty punishing start to the race. Not absolutely extreme, but enough to really test people who probably not spent an awful lot of time on the water in the last year or so, and certainly the boats as well. Thereafter, it was really just how do you thread the needle through all of the transitions that came all the way down all the way across Bass Strait. Bass Strait's probably never been quieter in goodness knows how long. Most unusual circumstances there, and then endless light air transitions, and very, very difficult to find your way through those. So a few people inevitably robbed, as we'd like to say, towards the end of the race, which so often happens. And that wasn't just the Derwent River this time, that was also in Storm Bay, which again was quiet for quite a lot of the time. Of all the yachts that were in, Solveig I think was the last to finish, and the mighty Gunrunner, huge props to these guys. They just are so persistent, and I think as of yesterday she was sitting somewhere on the northeast coast of Tasmania, and finally I think it wasn't the weather that got the better of them. They ran out of water, and an army marches on its stomach, and they need food, but they also need water, and being dehydrated at sea is extremely dangerous, especially when you combine it with seasickness. So, shame that they've had to make that call, but good on them for persisting as long as they did. So that's largely it. The two-handers are in. I think we're just going to do a bit of a dock walk now, and maybe just go and see a few of the boats along the two-handed division behind us here, and some of the other smaller boats that came in, and see if we can talk to a couple of people along the way, and maybe certainly talk about that end of the fleet. And we'll call it a wrap from there. So let's go for a little bit of a walk now. Pick up the camera. So on our right, Disco Trooper, J99, raced by Clogs and Jules. Fantastic result for them, winning all of their divisions. She was IRC, ORCI and PHS, an amazing result. Really well designed boats, very, very suitable for two-handing. And those guys are pretty eminent sailors, both of them laser sailors actually. That's really where their connection was made, and they're doing a bit of a clear up. Sydney 36s, all the Sydney 36s, 38s, great ocean racing boats. On our left here we might sweep around. You probably saw our interview with Rob Goff and John Saul aboard Sidewinder. This was the first of the two-handers to finish the race. Pretty extreme for its day, but this is probably even old model these days compared to, say, Rupert Henry's, which unfortunately had to retire on the first night. But you can sort of see, you get a bit of a hint. This is more than 10 years old now. This was Conrad Coleman's boat for the Global Ocean Race, originally sailing short-handed as well. And you can see all the setup, and one of the big things in these two-handers in these ocean races is protection. So what they've found over the years is that actually the more you can protect the crew from the literal physical battering you get from a fire hose on these sorts of really fast boats, so for the water coming over the bow, the more energy they retain, the fitter they are for sailing harder. So you'll see that whole doghouse there that sort of sits in front of you, it's got sealed doors, it's got all of the winches in under shelter so they can do all of the hoisting of halyards and so on. So as far as possible they're just trying to avoid going forward. And then big wide beamy back here with two rudders, really, really good downwind stuff. And you'll probably notice the little window in the back here, that's actually an escape hatch. If these boats invert completely, they can come out through underneath the rudder gear and they can actually get out there. And you can see all the mechanisms. So quite a bit of power in this thing, and those guys did really well getting it all the way down here. A really well proven yacht. And and with few injuries as well while they were here. Sankont, Sydney 38. Again, another really good result for these guys. And beside it, Secret Men's Business, David Costa's boat. David, you may have noticed, heard recently, bought Genuine Risk and is planning to put that back on the water, which is wonderful. An old 90-footer from the early 2000s. Who we got? Wendy Tuck's boat. We had a good chat with Wendy and Campbell Jeeves yesterday. They were very energetic. And then Peter Frankie and Drew Jones Salt Shaker, again, really well known in that realm of the two-handers. And now behind us, as we see going round, Rum Rebellion. So that's Graham Dunlop and Shane Connolly. And so again, sort of doing tidy-ups in there as well. Oh, there's Campbell talking to the opposition. Hey guys, how you going? You rested up?
No, but I'm feeling a lot better than I was last night.
You were pretty hyper yesterday. That was great.
Pretty exciting.
It made for a very good interview. You should see it.
I'd like to see it. Are you putting it up somewhere?
Yes, it's up on Facebook and Sail World, so have a look. Yeah, well done, guys. Well done.
Did you edit
Well
it,
done.
or did we get the whole thing?
No, you were completely unedited, I promise you. Oh, the Shane Cairns and his crew here. Oh, Shane's not here. Right, okay, so here's an opportunity to talk to Jim, maybe. So, guys, we spoke to Shane yesterday, and he's put you on the spot again about next year. So what's your sense of this? You just need to ask Shane to stop this. You'll keep coming till you win it.
A Tasman at the correct time. Yeah. And hopefully one year we'll arrive at Tasman Island at about, 9 o'clock in the morning?
9 and 10 in the morning would be nice, yeah.
And get around and get the sea breeze all
And actually have some sea breeze up the river. Although even Storm Bay this year was pretty light on, wasn't it?
Storm Bay is what killed us, I think. We were talking about how long we lost there, and I think it was about at least 12 hours, I suppose. We sat under Row for a long time.
And I was saying to Shane, what is it about Tasman Island that you can never get round that wretched thing? I seem to remember sitting there for hours back in the day, and it must be something to do with the downforce of the air coming off the cliffs and things. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Sure, it gets us every time, but someone on board, I can't remember who it was, reckons they should finish the race at Tasman. You could put a laser light between Tasman and the mainland, and everyone could just go through that. And then maybe a small boat might win the race one year.
Well, I just remember an overseas guy many years ago, Dutch guy, who said, what on earth would any self-respecting ocean racing club do finishing a race in a river?
Correct. I can't agree more. We've got two local boats, Aaron and Adrian. They live on the river. So we've got a fair bit of local knowledge coming up the river. And even then, I was saying, we're trying to work out which way to go, and they go, well, it depends,
Good, local knowledge coming good. All right, guys, enjoy the rest. Well done. Nice to see you again. And here we are. Hey, look who it is. Carlos, how are you? Great to see you. Carlos Eidos with family, doing the sun cream job. Great to see you. Well done, Carlos. Fantastic. Second, I think, across all. Hi, how are you? And am I right in saying a second in all three divisions? Is that right? Well done. Fantastic result. How was it? All good?
Yeah, it was all good. It was a very hard race, especially the first 2 days. A lot of wind.
I can see the big boat is wide now.
Yeah, the big wind on the first 2 days. It was very wet. It was very hard. But then the lack of wind on the last day was also extremely hard and testing, yeah. But at the end of the day, we actually managed to get some breeze to cross the finish line. So that was pretty good.
That's great. And the boat's in good shape?
Yeah, it's in good shape, yeah.
Great. Well done. That's fantastic effort. Lovely to see you this end as well.
you.
Are you back next year?
Yes, I will. Hopefully I will, yes.
Next time you'll be first place.
Yes. That's
See,
where you go. Top of the sport there.
pressure's on.
Are you proud of your dad?
Yes.
It's a pretty mighty achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, well done, guys. Catch you later. Righty-ho, fruit salad. One of the most colourful of the boats when they headed out all in their shirts. They're all doing a bit of a clean-up in there. She's the culprit guys, local hero guys. Well done. Good to them. More of the two-handed divisions. You can see how much clearing up has to go. So most of these boats have got to get back to their home ports in one form or another. So down below is usually, despite the best efforts, pretty pretty chaotic when you first get in, and you've got to clean it out, dry everything off. Very often just change your racing sails for your delivery sails, then probably change your crew for a delivery crew, so it's pretty hard yachts. Now, here's a beautiful yacht right behind us, Dale, if you wanted to swing around this way. Here's one of the old Hobart classics. This is Solveig. So she was one of the famous Magnuson family yachts, and first raced to Hobart in 1950. And in fact, actually, I think won the race in 1954. So fantastic. Anne Lawrence bringing her down with the crew. A very experienced crew were on board as well. A very beautiful and elegant boat with a very strong and rich heritage. Stan Darling, the navigator, famous navigator back in the days in the 1950s, was aboard this boat as well. Dodgeball, lots of colour going on here. Both in the boat and with all of the gear, all drying out. Mostly, other than the first night, really, a very dry race, really, one way and another. But beyond that, would have been very wet in that first night, that's for sure. Joker on tour, another of the two-handed division boats, did well. And you can see in this case, nicely set up for protection of the crew. Not necessarily designed specifically for two-handing, but very good. And Navy 1. So the Navy and the Army all sail regularly in the Hobart. Always good to have those guys, great training for them as well. And right at the end of pontoon, the line honours winner, Blackjack, Peter Harburg's magnificent 100-footer. And this first time that they've won this race. And so they'll be heading back to Sydney, and with Alex Nolan and his team, takes even delivery of a yacht this size back, even in any conditions, talking to Alex, it takes about a minimum of 10 people to bring this thing back. So there's so much work to be done. You've got all the hydraulics and so on operating, so you've got to have people even on delivery crews who are really experienced and capable of delivering that. Great result for those guys in that. So I think at that point we might just call it a wrap and say thank you very much indeed to everybody for following us through the race. It's been fantastic to have had this race, and I think everybody's really feeling that hopefully next year we'll be able to do all of this with perhaps a little bit less of the rapid antigen and PCR tests and masks and everything else, but that remains to be seen. But the great news is that we've completed a race, and at least a goodly part of the fleet have got home. So farewell, and look forward to catching up with you shortly.